Over the last several months, we have been experimenting with bonding titanium to steel. In order to be able to make steel-cored, titanium-clad blades. And at last, I think our process is close enough to be able to embark on making a titanium-clad, steel-cored chef's knife. On the back of these cards is contained our experiment plan for the day. We have 3 options, but you know the drill. Because titanium reacts violently with oxygen at high temperature, we need to be able to bond these things with no oxygen. We need an Argon purge, and so we need to fabricate 3 boxes. Asshole! Made 1 cut and the thing completely warped. Keeps warping. Ah! I think the tip is dirty now. Be a nice clean, huh? I think I need to change my consumables. Yeah. Oh no, did you hear that? It's a joke that I've made 100 times before.
The thing is, people don't even know how many times you make that joke because I've cut out the last 30 of them.
The easiest way to cut out this titanium would obviously be take 50mm strips and then cut them to 250mm long, because that's the dimensions we're going with. But the grain is going in that orientation, and I think that it's beneficial, or potentially it would be beneficial, to have the grain of what we make flow properly. So we're going to be inefficient and cut a big 250mm long slab and then cut it in this orientation. Oh, small problem. All my gas Argon. Ran out of Argon for the TIG welder. Rather inconvenient. It's the next morning. Yesterday, nipped to the steel supplier, got more Argon. This morning, quick haircut from Mrs. Steele, and we're now back in action. All these little teeny-weeny holes that we had the plasma cutter put in were very helpful in allowing us to bend these boxes, but they won't be very helpful when it comes to not letting oxygen into our billet, so they need to be filled. Hold tight, hold tight.
Hang on a minute. These haven't even got anything written on the back of them.
Got to get rid of the inside of these welds now. First you weld it, then you get rid of the weld that you put in there. Endless. Ah! Funny thing I just noticed, I have not ran out of Argon once yet since being back here after being in America. So apparently 1 bottle of Argon lasts me over 4 years. Now we need tubes. Argon tubes.
Tubes.
Tubes. There's a tube, and there's a tube. Quite short tubes, I'd like longer tubes. Need to order more tube. Ah! If this video does well on YouTube, I can order more tube.
Wait, are you saying new tube or YouTube?
No, I'll get new tube.
Oh, if the video does well on
YouTube video.
YouTube. Right.
Need an oil for my tube. Tube bowl. So you'll see, as our experiments continue, our lollipops get longer. For the tiniest little bit of context, if you're new here, welding titanium to steel is very, very difficult because at high temperatures they react and form a very brittle intermetallic compound that is nowhere near strong enough to be at the joint interface. And so what we were doing was experimenting with interlayers between the materials, but in our last episode on the topic, thanks to Dr. Shehzadi's input, we found a new technique to try. And that is using no interlayer, heating the material, forging it together, bonding it, and then immediately quenching it, leaving as little time at temperature as possible in order to reduce the amount of that intermetallic compound formed. And that works better than any other technique that we tried. There was one downside though, which is that we weren't able to get the steel core hard enough, and so this time around, we have no interlayers. We just have 3 pieces of steel for our core, 6 pieces of grade 2 titanium, and it's going to be a real simple little sandwich we're going to make. Titanium, steel, titanium. All of the variables that we're going to change are going to be in how we bond them and then quench and temper them. Titanium. This is Steele. That's my name.
Wait, your name's Steele? I thought it was Steely.
Actually, everybody's been pronouncing it wrong all these years. It is Steely. Alec Steele. Wow, there is so much lint on this from this lint-free cloth. I went on Amazon searching for lint-free cloth, and there is so much lint on this material now.
Are you sure they're lint-free or not 100% lint?
Wow, that's Amazing how well that fits. Tolerances are just fantastic, whoever manufactured this.
What are you talking about? It doesn't fit.
Jamie, have you ever been exposed to humor?
No, I spend too much time around you.
Lint-free my arse. My arse is probably more lint-free than these cloths. Titanium. I really should have made the edges of my box taller. Now I have a bit of a gap. I think I'm going to cut new top pieces that are wider so that we can really span the whole width of our billet.
I just asked Alec if he'd rather eat this forge scale or an egg. He said the forge scale. What do you mean? It's just an egg.
I used to be deathly allergic to them. I'm terrified of eggs. So now I present to you a little CBA. Billet A is going to go like this. We're going to heat it to 850 degrees Celsius, smash it under the steam hammer to bond it, immediately oil quench it, and then temper it at 210 degrees Celsius. Now that is going to provide, hopefully, an identical result to our previous experiment's famous secret sample. And what I hypothesize will happen with billet A is we're not going to get the hardness that we ideally would want out of a blade from our steel core. Now, why do we think that might be? You guys made some amazing suggestions in the comments of that last video. In summary, remember that in order to harden steel, you need to heat it up to its hardening temperature and then quench it, cooling it as fast as possible, or at least cooling it at the appropriate rate that it requires for hardening. Well, our steel core is jacketed by titanium. Jamie, do you happen to know a little bit about the thermal conductivity of titanium? How does it compare to that of steel?
More.
More thermally conductive. Less thermally conductive than steel. Which means that...
It was a 50-50.
Which means that temperature moves slower. So as this gets dunked into the oil, the titanium isn't able to dump the heat into the oil as quick as steel would. So it's effectively insulating the steel from the oil, stopping it from cooling quickly. And I reckon that, in addition to the steel being encased in this box, is the reason why we didn't get the hardness that we ideally wanted. To be prudent, of course, we're testing it again. Experiment B is going to be changed in this way. Same bonding temperature, same bonding, but a water quench. The water is going to rip the heat out of this thing way faster than the oil will, which is why typically for knife steels, you don't do a water quench because it cools it too fast and can cause cracking, breaking, warping. I want to see if that will now get us the hardness we need in the core. And then experiment C. Again, thanks to your suggestions, we heat it, we bond it, we quench it, we temper it like normal. But we then take the mild steel jacket off it, reheat it to 815 degrees Celsius as quick as we can, and then quench it in oil and temper it all over again. And the results of that will tell us how important the jacket was to the lack of hardness of our previous test, but it will also tell us if it's possible to reheat the material back up to that critical temperature after it's been bonded, or will that just form more brittle intermetallic compounds and cause the thing to split apart? Another thing that we're experimenting with and testing is, of course, the size of the billet. So on all our previous experiments, the billet has fit within the space of the dies, but here, the dies are obviously much narrower. So for the first time, we're going to be welding back and forth, not in constant contact with the striking die. How is that going to work? Is that going to cause the layers to peel open, cause the bond to fail? I don't know. There we go. Woo! Sweet. Next up, billet B for the water quench. Last up, billet C. Now we're going to let this thing cool down as quick as possible so we can temper. Time for a quick break in story time, eh? Last week, I was in the mountains. Regular viewers will know I absolutely love getting out in winter, or in summer, or any time. I love being outside and doing anything that resembles physical activity, especially when there's a little bit of adventure. Can't say I recommend that. And so that means I like to keep exercising on the regular, and so staying properly hydrated is very important to me, which is why I'm so bloody thrilled that Element is our sponsor. It's a zero sugar electrolyte drink mix with 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium. My personal favorite flavors are orange salt, grapefruit salt, and citrus salt that you can even enjoy at hot by getting their chocolate medley, a little hot chocolate and their chocolate raspberry. Ooh! And so thanks to Element for my few days of skiing and my ice climbing, I was feeling in tip-top shape.
Doesn't matter if it's the middle of winter. If you're working hard, you've got to stay hydrated. With Element, it's extra delicious. Go to drinklmnt.com/forge to get a free trial pack of all of their flavors with any purchase. The link is down below. We've got another couple of pictures to do.
The next morning, all three have been tempered. Billet C is what we're after. We need to urgently get the jacket off here so that we can reheat it, re-quench it, and re-temper it. Whoa! Something just popped. I really hope that was the jacket that just popped. Please tell me it's good news, not bad news. Ugh! No! Bugger! The steel didn't bond to the titanium. Not good, guys. See, I'm seeing jacket from the box bonded to the titanium more than the titanium bonded to our actual steel. Oy. Both sides of the billet didn't bond to the titanium. Minus one variable, being that the dies were not larger than the billet. This is the same procedure that we did for our successful sample in our last video on this. Something unfortunately tells me it probably might not have worked on these two either. Woo! Oh. Steel, titanium, titanium. Something definitely happened, because we do have this kind of like telltale sign that the two did react together in some shape or form, because the steel has a coating stuck on it from the reaction with the titanium. Aside from that, there's nothing visually like, aha! There's your problem. So, unfortunately, experiment C, for no reason that's actually related to it being experiment C, is currently a bust. I say we crack in to billet A and billet B. We see, do we have similar issues, or are they successful?
I mean, we can see that it's a failure.
It's not the time for jokes, Jamie.
Sorry.
What do you think this is? Comedy club? Ah! Same bloody problem. Oh. This one, I can still see the polishing lines from the Scotch-Brite, I think. I wonder if we didn't have enough deformation on this. Maybe I didn't forge hard enough? Why does it have to sound so good and hurt my heart so much? Might be a small miracle, Jamie. This is the jacket, that's titanium, and that's steel. It might have bonded on one side. One half bonded. Who knows how strongly it bonded, though? A shred of hope. We have a shred of it. Back to billet B. This water-quenched sample is my last chance at hopefully being able to make a knife from the billets that we've been working on. Maybe it hasn't separated like the previous ones after one cut. That is one steel jacket. Whoa. It's a bloomin' miracle!
You've actually made the elusive fishtail titanium Damascus?
How the hell did that get there?
That is actually a miracle. How did you do that? Are you like a titanium Damascus wizard or something?
As you can see by our successes today, Jamie, yes. So, we've got something that we can try and make a knife from, which is beautiful. But I've got some ridiculously large question marks about the actual bonding process that we thought was pretty well dialed. I don't think it is quite so well dialed. I think that some of the things that we need to try the next time we do it are making sure that the bonding pressure is much higher, as being able to see some of the surface finishes in the bonding interfaces tells me we have not smished it close enough to that atomic contact that we require for a proper diffusion bond. Because the pressure during bonding is something we can control, I think it's something that we should try and change on the next set. You remember these sets of experiments were meant to be about how the steel gets hard. Will it get hard enough? Well, I don't have great things to measure here other than our half-failed oil quench sample and our hopefully successful water quench sample. I want to test the Rockwell hardness of both of these to see if water quenching is at least our way to achieving a steel core of the appropriate hardness. We're also going to run up and grab some of the samples from last time. We're going to grab that direct bond sample, number 10, our control steel sample, one of our nickel interlayer samples as well. Righto, this is our new Rockwell hardness tester. This is sample 9 from the last set of experiments, so this is just 1080 steel that's been hardened. What I expect from hardened 1080 for it to be suitable for a knife is something in the region of 60 Rockwell C. 1, 2, 3. Bring that forward. That's actually a little bit softer than I expected. 50 Rockwell C. So perhaps we tempered it a little bit hotter than we normally would. We're gonna run a number of these experiments across all our samples, get the averages, and see what sense we can make from the numbers. 30 Rockwell. 33. 57. 55. 48. We have a bit of an issue. The machine is too big. Small. So we're gonna have to cut a bit off to be able to measure it. Are you joking? Does it still not fit? 49, 54, 48. And with that, here are our results. Interestingly, our hardest sample was from our last set of experiments. Number 3 with the nickel interlayer, the steel core was 55.6 Rockwell. And even more interesting, I got identical hardness readings on my water quench sample and on my oil quench sample's steel core, a hardness of 52.5. Now you would expect that our recent oil test sample would have the same hardness as our oil quench sample from the last set of experiments, but it didn't. It was way harder, and perhaps that's because we had 2 jacketing layers of titanium on sample 10 from the last batch, and only 1 on sample A's oil quench, meaning that the steel core was less insulated and was able to dump the heat quicker. That's my first assumption. But anyway, I would like to see higher Rockwell hardness numbers. The fact that the nickel interlayer provided such a good result is interesting, and especially now that we've had some failures with our direct bonded steel titanium samples, perhaps it's something we're going to continue exploring. But for now, what I want to do is I want to make a pretty little knife out of sample B. So let's draw something up. What the f is wrong with you? Oh! In a third of a second, I was like, I'm dying. Then it changed to, how did Jamie make that noise with his mouth? As I realized I wasn't actually dying, I then pegged it that it was exactly one of these. Huzzah! Man, we were tight on material there. I was not letting anything go to waste. First step, the profile. Got our profile in there. Next up, we need to tackle a pertinent issue. Currently it has the thickness of a machete, not a chef's knife. Now I don't want to make it so thin that we lose our titanium jacket, but it does need to be a bit thinner. To the mill. I'm going with a small end mill so I can have as low cutting forces as possible. Even with no color on the titanium, it looks epic and different and novel because titanium's gray is so different to steel's gray, even if it was a different alloy. So I'm just such a happy pumpkin right now. I'm going to degrease this, and on the note of putting color in it, we're going to anodize the titanium, hopefully. Now, when we did our last sets of experiments, it didn't quite make it into the video, but the best results I got with the anodizing on our samples that also had a steel core were not when we dipped it in the electrolyte, but were when we painted it on by attaching one end of our DC power supply thing to a rag that was saturated in our electrolyte solution. And that was literally painting it on. The current, the electrolyte, working its magic to color the titanium because there seems to be a big problem anodizing titanium when steel is in the mix. Okay, moment of truth, boys and girls. 3, 2, 1. Wow, it's doing a little bit of something. Yeah, baby. Whoa! If we can get this even. Oh my gosh, look at that, Jamie! That's epic. Oh, shoot, maybe the spine isn't degreased well enough. Why is the spine not? Oh, you know why the spine's not doing it, Jamie? It's made of steel. That is epic. So that one's got a lighter one. Shall I make that a little bit lighter as well, or leave it so it's completely different both sides? They're both really cool.
That blue looks sick.
You know what we can say, Jamie? We leave it because it's an example of like how the things can be different. I love it! With that, we've got to get a grip on it. This is my handle material and small cord drawer because the two make perfect sense. Oh, that's quite attractive. A little purple, something. Juma, dark Madagascar. Juma it is.
I think go for the purple. Schlurple the purple.
Schlurple the purple. You might be onto something there, Jamie. Oh, yes! I am very happy about that fit up considering how long it has been since I've done that. And now we shape the handle. Five-minute work life. It's about 4 minutes longer than me. Uh-oh, that's way too much glue apparently. Wow. Wait, tiny bit. My first titanium-clad knife is finished. Ha ha! And that is a dream several months in the making come true. I would love to know why our other two billets failed. I don't know, but I really have to find out. So the experimentation is not over. Just because we've done it once doesn't mean that the process is dialed. We do know that when it works, this titanium bond to steel is strong, and the result is something that is pretty mind-blowing to me. I am thrilled with the result we got brushing on our anodizing. We've got two colors to look at. We can use as a palette for future projects. Which do you prefer? So let us know, which color do you prefer? Darker blue with more yellow, lighter blue? Please let me know what you want us to make next as we continue experimenting with these processes. I am so grateful for you watching because none of this experimentation would be possible without you being here and being as interested in these materials as I am. So thank you, and thank you to today's sponsor, which was Element. I love the stuff. I drink it every day, and I'm sure you will too. The link is in the description below. See ya. Bye-bye.